Welcome, everyone. Good boy, Tucker. This is learning at its most fun.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for hopping in on another Thursday webinar. My name is Catherine Beltran, and I'm a trainer here at Redtail Technology. Today, we have a pretty big topic. It's a lot to literally unload, and it's going to be how to tackle data cleanup. Now, this could be for really a variety of reasons. The last few years have been chaotic. I think everyone can agree on that sentence alone. Sometimes we inherit data that's just been, a big pile of a mess. And sometimes we just unintentionally cause this dirty data to pile up in there simply because we don't realize that we can fix it and really actually prevent it from happening to begin with. But I did go ahead, I created kind of like an agenda. It's kind of my hit points, I should say, on the cleanup list itself. We will work our way through all of this information. But if you see at the very bottom, I have other fields to consider. So obviously there might be some data that isn't messy in every single database, and that's perfectly okay. If yours is, though, this is just, again, a kind of reminder to say, hey, maybe take a look at these fields. Hey, maybe just look at those tools and see if there's anything else that you might want to consider cleaning up, closing out, updating, things like that. So again, that's really what those ones are. It's not saying that yours is for sure that way, but it could be something that, again, you could relate to. But again, I do want to start off with that first thing, that managed database list. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to toggle on over to my CRM. So hopefully everyone can see that. This is my today page, but we're going to go to the admins only section. Now that's exactly how it sounds. You do have to be an admin to access it. So I'm just going to put this little preface that now not everyone will have this section. That's okay. That's perfectly fine. It just depends on the user rights. So to find this, though, come on up to your name in the top right-hand corner. Come on down to manage your account. Let that load for a second, and then you're going to scroll all the way to the very bottom where you'll see that admins only section. Now, second from that list is going to be that managed database list. I do recommend starting here. We even recommend when you're a brand new user, this is actually where you start. And it's really because this is one, where you can customize your data, and two, this is actually where you can even see what fields are available really within the database that can be even tailored to your own. So really kind of honing in on that customize though. Sometimes we have great intentions that just don't go according to plan. This is where we want to kind of double check ourselves here. So sometimes we might not realize we are adding duplicate values. Sometimes we just don't realize that over the years we've added things with the intention of using it, only for us never to use it. So this is why I recommend starting with this section. This is really where, again, you can clean up some of those customized great ideas we had and honing them back in so that way it makes more sense. So I'm just going to actually start off with one of my favorites, kind of the go-to spot of statuses. So on the right-hand side, all of these are fields within the database. I'm going to start off with that status because to me, that's the highest level that you can really go to organize your data, your contacts. And as you can see in this list, we've had quite a few that have been added. Now, if you're not sure if they're customized, and if you're thinking, hey, are those defaults? The easiest way you can tell from this is actually this little icon right here. We call that our action icon. If you don't see it, like this one right here, those are your defaults. So the only one for status here is the not specified. Everything else we have added for this particular database. Again, I do want to say right now, if you're looking at yours following along and yours looks vastly different, that's actually really how it's intended. These are going to be for words, phrases that you are comfortable with. But the main thing I want to point out here as to why we want to look at this for cleanup is because, again, we might have those duplicates that we went in and added. Knows I can always say that maybe, hey, I added active client first, but I have another coworker who always goes in and phrases it as client, didn't realize I phrased it as active client and added this instead. That's the same thing though. No matter what way I cut it, it's actually the same definition that I'm really looking for here. That's where I can actually merge those two together. Same thing could be for something like inactive. Sometimes when I go into a one-on-one training, we'll take a look at this section and I'll see inactive client. And then a couple up, I'll see former client. Again, if you can't easily answer to me, what's the difference? And you're sitting there going, it actually is the exact same thing. This is where we want to, again, kind of merge those. Now, one thing that changed over the last few years is this little action icon. When you click in here, you have a little pop-up difference when you actually click delete. So as a team, we decided we want to leave active client. We want to get rid of client. I can actually hit delete. And when I come to this page, before I hit the delete button, I actually have the ability to, again, kind of bulk change this. So apply a new value for all existing records. I can now pick it. Now this does change the one I need. So I'm going to leave that as is, delete it here. But any contact that I had that had client will now actually automatically update to active client instead. So again, it's just a quick way that you can quickly, again, have those duplicates, those same meanings, all kind of just merge into one. Now, kind of along the same thought process, but before pulling that trigger there, I would actually take a look at, again, all of your sections here. Under categories, I was taking a look earlier, and we actually had kind of like an older method we used before we really had that deletion, and it was a recommendation of putting the letter C in front. So if you've ever seen any of our trainings before and you saw that Z in there and you're wondering why we decided to spell professional incorrect, we didn't do it out of just incorrect and we just didn't have fun with our spelling that day. We did it intentionally. The reason we did that is because we wanted to see, hey, we don't want to put it at the top of the list or in the middle. We want to kind of take it out of commission. And the way we approached it was if we put something in the front, it's kind of our indicator to each other to say, hey, let's not use this going forward. Let's kind of run this out of the mill. Now, before again, I delete this though, I maybe want to see if people are still actively using it. Again, maybe it was one of those things we added, we feel like no one's using, but in reality, it's possible that someone is. You can actually search off of any of these values. So again, before deleting it, you can see if it is in fact outdated or inaccurate at this point in time with a quick search beforehand. But again, really anything that you have under this section, usually really context is the main focal point here. You do have that, again, that kind of deletion, that benefit. And then also you can always add too. I know it sounds a little bit weird to add things for your cleanup, but maybe while you're cleaning it up, you're realizing you're missing things. The reason we're not using these fields is because we don't have any values. You can add those into as well. So don't think cleanup's just taking out data. Sometimes it's actually adding them in so that way data is actually applied in the right categories or the right keywords or the right statuses. But again, if you want to find out if anyone's currently using it and still actively wanting to use it, this is searchable. So I'm going to hop back to our list because that is actually the second thing we have on here, and it is our advanced search tool, which better leads to, again, bulk actions. So if I come back to the CRM, this time we're actually going to want to click on contacts on the left-hand side. Again, we'll let that load here. And then I'm going to want to click on advanced search. Now, if you are someone like me who does a lot of searches throughout the day and you'd rather have this as your default page, side little note here, if you come up to your name and preferences, you can actually have your advanced search page as your default instead. But again, if I want to find data within this database, I can do that with this section. I'm going to kind of create my own search query here. And again, I want to find out about that one category I had. So I can do contact as my type, field of category equal to, and then right over here is where I'm going to pick that value. So in my case, the Z professional connector. And I'll go ahead and check that, click run. Now, again, I get 18 records here. If I had absolutely nothing that popped open here, it's a nice big old blank page. That would be a big indicator for me that, hey, no one's using it. It has never been used. Let's just get rid of it. Clearly, it doesn't have value. That's when you can always go back to that managed database list and just remove that option from your section. That's not what happened here. We actually ended up getting 18 records in here. This is again where we're going to want to sit down as a team and decide, do we keep this category and actually start to use it more applicable? Or should we regroup this particular set of contacts? If it is the latter, you decide, hey, you know what, I don't want to use professional connector anymore. I'd rather just them as business, or again, whatever category I have, I can highlight this whole list. If you have, let's say, a couple hundred here, when in doubt, I'd always say check this, but make sure you select all of the contacts on this page rather than like the first 50. But if you come over to the contact options on the right-hand side, you're going to see at the very bottom of that drop-down bulk actions. So again, in my case, if I wanted to update all 18 records with a different category, I can change contact category right here. When I click on it here, I'll get the other options in here. And again, I can have that choice. That's not, of course, the only thing you're limited to on this section. Maybe you need to change statuses, sources. Maybe you want to start using servicing advisor. I know sometimes a lot of people don't know that's a field. Same with writing advisor. You can do that. Maybe you're looking at your keywords and you just added a bunch and this group happens to fall under that. Assign the keywords, add to a tag group. On the reverse, you can remove from keywords and tag groups in bulk. So again, if you find yourself saying, I need to do X amount of contacts that all need this updated, try to get it really to that advanced search page and see if a bulk action is the easiest route for you. Now, again, this helped me find a very specific category that I was looking for. I love the advanced search page for not only giving me what I'm really looking for when it comes to specific data. I'm also a big fan of this for the simple fact it helps kind of act as my second brain. It helps me find the data that doesn't exist. Now, what do I mean by that? It's not going to help you find notes that you didn't enter. That's not that definition whatsoever. It's going to help you find things like missing tax IDs, categories or contacts that don't have a category attached to them, contacts that maybe have a specific keyword that you didn't realize shouldn't have it. So again, this is where you can really get creative when it comes to searching. So let's go ahead, let's find that list. Let's see how many contacts I have in here who are missing a tax ID. Bear with me, this might be brutal. It's a trading database, so who knows what we're going to get with this one. But again, I'm going to pick contact as type, tax ID as my field. This time I'm going to pick is empty. Now, when you use this operand of is empty, you are going to leave the value box completely blank. Pretend it's not there. Because if you do add it, it's going to kind of contradict it. But again, tax ID is empty. Pretend there's like an imaginary period there. Hit run. I'll let this do some thinking. And we have 378 records here. Obviously, do not be us. Be better than what we have in here. But this is a perfect example. This is something that clearly we haven't been taking the time to add in when we really should be. Now, that can feel overwhelming. If you run a search like this and you're getting hundreds, thousands of responses in here and you feel your heart drop, everything's just like, oh, it's some sweaty palms, whatever it is that might happen. Don't panic too much. What I would recommend is actually breaking this search down further. 378 is a lot to me. That's way too many that I'm willing to tackle today, tomorrow, this week alone. Create it where it's more of a digestible chunk. I know that sounds kind of disgusting, but maybe I'm looking at this list and I'm going, well, I don't necessarily need to update deceased right now. I don't need to update inactive clients. I don't really want to concern myself with dependents. Maybe I'm truly just worried about everyone I have labeled as an active client. If that's the case, come back to that search parameter and make it more specific. So I can come on over and hit that and button and say, hey, I'm not only looking for contacts that are missing that tax ID, I'm looking strictly for those active clients who are missing that tax ID. So I'm going to come in here again with contact status equal to, this time active client, hit run, and it's going to take me from 378 down a little bit more than half by 119 records total now. So again, just a little bit easier of a pill to swallow. I have that list. I can start powering through it. I could take a couple today, a couple the next day, and over time, I can get that updated. Now, with that concept, everyone approaches it differently. I have some offices who they do get that whole list. One person literally sits there and cracks it out. I do have other people where they see this data and they choose to kind of update it over a year. What I really mean by that is, hey, when it's time for them to have their client review, they'll take a look at these fields and go, hey, we need to get this, 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 and this. And then once we're good with that, our data is going to be clean over that 12-month period. Again, attack this however you see fit. There's no right or wrong shoe in this case here. You really just want to find out, how quickly do you want to update that data? Or again, what's the most important thing that I need to start with? But my biggest tip for you, go mess around with the advanced searching. This truly will help when it comes to finding specific data and seeing if that data is in fact still accurate, or seeing if there is missing data like this case here, and seeing if we can again break it down so it's a little bit easier to manage. Now, the last thing I'll really say with this page here is that any search, if you are choosing to tackle it definitely more than in a day, I would actually recommend just saving it. If you save it, it's going to save as a quick list that you can easily pull open next time. The beauty of that search or that quick list is that it updates as your data updates. So if I went in and added for Sharon and Maddie and Jenna their tax ID, this automatically will start to subtract when those, again, no longer meet that they are missing that tax ID. So again, just my last little tip when it comes to this one, but my biggest will always be use that bulk action to your advantage. Now, again, we've talked about the managed database list and its importance in terms of customization and how it can really play a role in the fields that are available. Advanced searching using those fields that you actually just entered with the managed database list, seeing if that data is still correct. But you really want to, again, focus in on what's most important. So again, managed database, whoops, the wrong thing. Let's go back. Let's come back over. So again, managed database list. To get there, come to your name, manage your account, scroll to the very bottom. If you see that admins only, congratulations, you can play the role of cleanup, manage database list, and take a look at all of these fields over here. If everything looks golden, perfect, check that box off, move forward. Again, now you'd come to contacts on the left, advanced search at the top, and this is where you can then search your whole data. Think of this as the query of data mining your whole database in here. You can find things that are missing like tax ID, category, email addresses, phone numbers, contact category, contact keywords. You can find, again, literally anything that you really want to search for. This is the kind of the big baddie of the CRM. So go mess with this. Trust me, you really can't break it. I try to all the time, but this is going to help you with that data. So those are the first two real big sections and tools that can help you start to clean up those field values. What else do you have though? Am I only limited to those two? And the answer is no. There's actually one more section that can really help you in terms of bulk cleanup, and that is actually custom exports. So I'm going to, again, scroll back over. We're third on that bullet list, and it's going to be, again, those custom exports. Now, I call this the DIY section. You're going to see why when I actually show it to you, but this one has kind of a twofold as to why you might like this. If you come up to your name in the top right-hand corner, back to manage your account. I know I sound like a broken record here. This time, instead of scrolling to the bottom, you're going to really just kind of hold it here at this page. And under manage templates, you are going to see custom export templates. Now, when you click on this here, yours might be blank. Perfectly fine. That just means you haven't set one up before. You have a nice clean slate. This is actually probably a good thing. But if I come on over to this new button, it'll redirect me to another page that has a bunch of checkboxes. And as you might be able to gather from this, this is where I get to build out my report. Now, why would I like this? If there are certain fields that I want to make sure are filled in, they have a value on every single contact, I can check these fields off, run it against any list of contacts that I have, and it'll give me an Excel file that I can work in. So let's go ahead. Let's kind of build one here. I'll call it my 2022 cleanup. I'll keep it kind of PG here. You know, I don't want anything that's like dirty. I'll keep it like that. And over here, I'm going to start to check off literally again what I want in that report. So I want to make sure that they have their first and last name. Seems basic, but you never know. Maybe I also want to make sure their family name is in there. Maybe I also want to make sure their employer exists. Again, everyone's going to have different must-have fields. This is, again, where you get to check it, though. I want to make sure they have a tax ID. I want to make sure their source is filled in. I certainly want to make sure they have the right status, and I want to make sure they have a category. Now, again, I could keep going through all of this section, and there's quite a bit on this page. So have at this. Check off, again, whatever you need in here. But once you have the fields you're looking for, you've gone through this list and go, okay, I'm good. I'm ready to move forward. Click that save button, and then you're going to come to this page. Now, this page is actually just how it'll present itself on that Excel file. So think of this row one as actually column 1, row 2, so on and so forth. I can actually drag and drop this though. So if I want the first and last name before family name, I just click on that particular one and drag it and drop it. I want status above here. All right, I'm pretty pleased with how it is now. I'm going to save this, and now it's going to save as a report that, again, I can run however many times I want throughout the year, and again, against any context that I want. So I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to come to contacts. I'm going to just create a quick little search here. I'm going to say contact for advanced search, status equal to, and I'll pick active client again. So I'm going to click run, give it a second here, let it think about who actually meets this criteria. Again, I get 348. Now, just for kind of helping speed this along, I'm just going to leave it as that first 50. Remember, I have 348. If I wanted all 348 on that actual Excel file, make sure you select this. Again, just for this presentation, though, I want this to go a little faster. I'm going to leave it as that 50, and I'm going to come to contact options and custom exports this time. Now, just a heads up, if you did run that search and you didn't highlight anyone, let me actually uncheck this so you could see. If you run that search, this is not an option for me to click on. You get that big ol' X out of there. You have to have at least one person selected for contact options to be available. So just a heads up there. But again, I'm going to highlight my short list here, contact options, custom export, and I'm going to get one more pop-up. Now, right here under custom export template, again, this is going to give you any of the reports, the DIY report that you just created. All of those are going to exist, and I can pick from it here. There's my 2022 cleanup right there at the top. And I'm going to go ahead and click that run custom export. Now, again, this is going to be an Excel document, so I'll go ahead and I'll click that open here. We'll let that load in a second. But again, the beauty of this one is that it's going to give me the data that I am looking for. More importantly, it's going to give me the data that is missing in bulk as well. So if you're looking at it here and you're seeing like a bunch of splatted messes in here, you're going to see I have some sources that are missing, some family names that don't exist. I'm missing employer fields over here. The reason why you might prefer to go this route, why should I even run the custom export, is because one, I understand some of us are really comfortable using Excel. We're really efficient in it. If you are a little bit faster in here, and or if you have multiple fields, family name, account numbers, keywords, let's just, everything under the sun type of thing. If you put that all in your DIY report and you have this all here and you cleaned it all up in here, you can actually send this updated Excel document to us where we will basically bulk update. Now, don't send it literally to me. That is not something I would be able to help you out with. But if you actually reach out to support, ask for a secure link, they will send you that secure link. You'll be able to upload that document in there. And again, they'll be able to update that all in the background. Again, repeating, you definitely want that secure link, especially if you have something like a tax ID field. I don't want that floating out there in the deep dark space. There are way too many things out there that would be questionable. Secure link is the route you want to go. But again, you can update this in bulk and then we can help you out from there. The only thing that we ask, bare minimum here, do not delete column A, column A here. That is the first column. You're probably looking at it going, I have no idea what this is even representing. The contact ID is actually how we see the contact in the background. So think of it as the unique number for that contact. The reason that could be a really big deal is maybe I have two contacts that have the exact same first and last name, but they are in fact two separate individuals. They would have two separate numbers then, and that would be the easiest way to help us flag that, hey, they're separate people. Now, again, if you delete this column though, you're sitting here going, I don't need this, and you delete, and then you realize later on, nope, you want to send this to us. What will happen is that if this list is now gone, that contact ID, you send that to us, we're going to assume these are all brand new contacts, and now you have a bunch of duplicate contacts. So in the process of cleaning up one mess, you've now created a completely separate larger mess. So again, just don't delete column A. That's the only thing, again, I would stress. Now, just as a recap for this particular section, should you find that that is a far more logical approach to cleanup, again, you're going to want to create the export first. So go to your name, manage your account, build it out under the custom export template here. save it. And again, this will now exist for you to rerun. One little thing I do want to actually just point out, kind of my beg, I should say, don't select every single thing on this page. The biggest reason, one, you will get a timeout error. Besides that, the bigger other reason is because it's a database backup, which is a full-on separate request. It's just too many fields for it to process it correctly. So if anything, coming back to that concept I said earlier, digestible chunks, work with that small one. Start off with basic info and contact details. Once that's all nice and clean, then work on to keywords or whatever else you might have. So again, that's my big tip. Just don't select all on every single thing on this page. Otherwise, like I said, you will get a timeout error. But again, once you do have it saved, it is now a report you have. You'd be able to come to, again, contacts. You can technically, like I said, run it against the whole contact, every single database in your list. As long as you come to contacts A through Z, go to all, you can highlight. And again, once you at least have one person highlighted, contact options and custom exports is available. So again, that's really that last little thing when it comes to the actual process of bulk doing it. Now you start to get into more of the individualized items. Now I said it, I think about 3 times alone when I was talking about that Excel duplicate contacts. Obviously, duplicate contacts do not just come from when we import an Excel file. It could come from us just being human. We unintentionally add someone twice. Or maybe we have a feed from somewhere else and realize that, whoops, there was a miscommunication. We have the same person 4 times. Whatever the reason might be, you can actually identify quickly with the report to figure out who might be in here more than once. If you come over to reports on the left-hand side, all right, once we're here, reports on the left, scroll down just a tad bit. You're going to come to contact reports and then contacts by duplicate name. Now, my kind of little 2-pointer here. One, if this is something that you plan on running frequently, just hit that little star button. It saves it so that way it's at the top. Just a couple seconds of scrolling to avoid, but again, it's just easier to just locate really fast. But my other little tip I'd give is I would recommend running this at least once a month. Like I said, we're human. We're bound to let things accidentally happen. No fault of really our own of just being a little bit too fast sometimes. But again, this is going to help us find some of those duplicates in the database. Now, as we look at this list, a couple of things I want to point out. One, if we look at the very first two names on this list, we see a Henry Jones Jr. and a Henry Jones III. The reason they're populating on here, because obviously they are 2 very different people, is because it has the exact same first and last name. And that's what the search is, or I'm sorry, this is what this report's pulling from, is the exact same first and last name. Do not obviously combine these. Now, if I accidentally added it, they were supposed to be the same. I just got a little too crafty there. I could, of course, combine them. But if I look a little bit further down and I see 2 Sarah Jones, there's only supposed to be 1 in my database. I can always right click on this. I can open it as a new tab. I can see, hey, let me look at their contact data. Is this actually the same person or are they separate and they just have the same name? Again, I can always take a look at it before I combine them. But if I do know right off the top of my head, nope, this is the same person, I can actually highlight or check them off, get both of those contacts in here. Once I have those checked, I now have the option to combine from this page. Now, when I click on it here, I'm going to get another option here that says the primary contact. Really, all this is saying here is if there's one status, it's going to pick whichever status you keep as primary. So for example, if I pick the Sarah Jones active client, it's going to keep the active client as status. If I pick the one that has dependent, it's going to keep the dependent one as status. So any of those kind of single value fields, it's going to keep the primary context information. So status, category, those are the pretty much the big ones here that you'll have. Now, if you're concerned about when you combine these contacts, losing activities, losing notes, losing addresses or phone numbers, you don't have to worry about that. That's not what's happening here. You're just going to basically take the 2 contacts, put them all together, and that way it all exists under one page. Again, the only thing you'll kind of quote unquote lose is if there's 2 different statuses, you only get to keep one. But once you do pick which one's the primary contact, you select it and then click combine. In the background, it is going to go ahead and say, hey, we'll notify you when it's all complete. Depending on how much data is in there, it may take a couple of minutes to really get everything to get to going. Now, I don't have anything on this page here that it does show up as multiple, like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've seen 10 one time. If you do have multiple in that scenario, you would just highlight all of them in that case. And again, you would then be able to combine all 3, 4 of them in one sitting again. But again, this is your fast way of pulling your duplicates. This is not completely going to capture every situation possible, though. So, for example, let's come back to Sarah here. If I spelt Sarah without the H in one instance, but then I spelt it with the H in a separate instance, they would not come on this page. Again, it's not the exact same first and last name. If that's something that you're fearful of, you have a feeling that is a situation you have, come up to the search. If they have the same last name, at least, you can always come up here, type in, I'm going to pull Kyle in this instance. I just typed in Kyle in my search. It'll give me this list here. And then I could see that. So again, maybe I spelled Selena with the C instead of an S. I can still combine them. I would just, again, go from this page. So again, I just typed the common situation, the last name in my case. I hit enter. It brings me to a search result page like this. I can highlight the two again that I know are actually supposed to be the same. Under contact options, might be able to see where I'm going here. Bulk actions again, you have the ability to combine contacts. So again, if you do have the spelling incorrect issue going on, just a quick search of the common situation, whether it's the middle name, the last name, even phone number, technically you could search off of up here. It'll get you to a list that looks like this. And again, you will have that ability to combine. So that's one way on an individual. But again, let's just kind of go through it. We talked about managed database list on cleaning up those fields, advanced search on finding those fields and finding things that might be missing with those fields, and bulk cleanup. Custom export was that DIY report, which then gives you the ability to run against all those contacts. Then get an Excel where you can update and again send back to us. Contacts by duplicate name, again, search for everyone who has the same first and last name and populates on that report for you to combine. We're going to shift gears a little bit because I didn't want to limit it to just contacts. Contacts aren't the only thing that gets rather messy in your database. Activities do as well. I will admit this, especially going into the new year, there's certain things that just slip through the cracks, or I just forgot to mark as complete. I know I'm not alone in that situation. And is a question I always get is there a fast way for me to know what I fell behind on? My answer is always yes, if you're using activities, because if we have those, they don't disappear. It's not like they just went into thin air and then, oops, I think I'm done with it. It still exists until I mark it as complete. Now, if I come to the today page, again, I'll let that load here. Right here under things to do today, you're going to see a past due button. If you click on that, it is going to show you, I feel like I'm going to let you down here, a past due activity list. It is exactly what you're looking for, and it'll show you anything that is still open in terms of activities. So if we're looking at here, we're going 2 years back now, almost at this point. We've got things from September 18th of 2020. We got 2021 in here. Again, don't be us. Be better than us. This is where we get that list. Now, if you know for a fact you've done those things and they just need to be marked as complete, you can bulk complete from this page. So if I realize, yep, we've done that, that should be marked, that should be marked, that should be marked, that should be marked. Again, I keep sounding like a broken record. Once I've highlighted a few items here, just like the contact options became available on advanced searching, activity options becomes available on this page. And on here, I can complete, I can reassign, I can reschedule, and I can roll over. Complete is exactly how it sounds. It marks it as complete. Reassigning, if maybe someone was out of the office, maybe it was assigned to Tucker and he actually hasn't been here in a while, I can actually reassign this so that way maybe it comes to me instead. Reschedule, exactly how it sounds. If it's supposed to be something set into the future, it was supposed to be done, but now it needs to be done by next Friday, I could set this again to have it scheduled for next Friday. Rollover, a little unique here. It actually takes it from whatever date it existed on and brings it onto today's schedule. So again, if there was anything in here that did exist in the past and I want to get it done today, have it on my agenda, as long as I get it done before I leave, that's where that rollover comes in. Now, again, I'm just going to bulk complete this. I know we've done those few things here. And again, now I'm just working my way through this cleanup. Now, don't be ashamed if you have a bunch in here. Again, I get it. Sometimes we're not aware that we can complete our activities or that we should be. So you might be seeing a couple thousand in here. I've seen it all. Trust me, it's perfectly normal. I would definitely just take the time now, though. Try to get yourself up to speed. And then if there's anything you know you haven't done and really should be, again, move that over to your today's schedule, tomorrow, whatever it might be. But ultimately, the goal here is to have 0 on this page. So this is the only one that's really, again, not catered specifically to, excuse me, sorry, a little froggy there. But this is the only one that's catered, again, not necessarily towards the contacts themselves, but more so about what we're doing for those contacts or even internal in our processes that we have. So again, this is those past due items. And just as again, as a recap, if you're on the today page, click on that past due, it'll redirect you to this page. One little kind of side tip of if you like to constantly see your past due, but you also want to see what you have going on today or in the next 7 days, you could technically make this your kind of default login page. And you can actually look at the past due next 7, past due today, again, whatever you prefer. And then that way, when you log in, you'd see this list. I do have a couple of offices I've worked with where this is all they really need. It keeps them on their toes and it works perfectly. That's perfect. Again, you would just come up to your name and preferences to update your default login page. All right, again, let's just go a little work our way down our list. We just talked about past due activities. The next is actually kind of the preemptive step. What could I do to help avoid some of these messy data fields, messy buildups, things like that? Is there something I could do to help kind of guide me? And that is where it's, again, going to be optional, but you have workflows and automations. Now, for anyone who has no idea what I just said, it's kind of speaking another language. Workflows are the process. Anything that you do could be a process, which could be a workflow. In my case here, maybe I want to have a quarterly cleanup workflow. Every single quarter, I want to make sure that there are these specific fields that are always clean. We have this marked as complete. It kind of is that like check-in a couple times a year. You could set up a workflow that is exactly like that. Now I'm going to come back to our database here, and I'm actually going to show you what, again, just as an example. You do not have to do this, though. I want to stress this. But if you come up to the question mark in the top right-hand corner, and then come to the other question mark. So question mark, it'll take you to our help desk. Once you are on this page, use that little search function at the top and type in sample workflows. Now, once you're on this page, of course, you're going to find other ones on here. You're not limited to just cleanup, but you are going to see one on this page that is going to give you an idea of something you could, in fact, kind of roll out in your office to double check yourself throughout the year. So again, there's quite a few on this page. I would recommend if anyone's curious about workflows, check these out because they ultimately could help you. But again, anything that you might have that could be that cleanup, this might be that one you're looking for. So again, it has the quarter one, has those items that we want to make sure that we're doing, updating specific fields. Hey, is this outdated? Again, it's just almost like those reminders for ourselves. And we have it again running the entire year. We have it check in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, again, and the last year of it. So this is, again, something that may be useful for offices. If that is something that you would wish to pursue, you can definitely take a look at this one. Tailor it, of course, to your own tasks. You are not stuck with the ones that are listed here. But again, kind of my tip here, come up to your name and make sure you build it under manage your account, the workflow template section. If you build it here, it is something that you can reuse every single year, add more if you need to, remove them as life changes. But again, it is something that can help guide you. Now, automations, again, is something that it could help kind of trigger it. Hey, it's the start of the new year. Hey, it's an activity. Hey, this contact's been added. Let's make sure we have those. So again, workflows can be useful when it comes to really having that checklist that we want to work through. But again, I'd always just recommend if you've never looked at any workflow before, take a look at our sample workflows, see if, again, this is something that might be worth pursuing for you. Now, the other reason I wanted to bring these two up is because it's actually something that I often see getting a little dirty themselves. I know that kind of sounds contradictory to what I just said, but not so much the process of the quarterly cleanup. It's that we had this intention of using workflows and then just kind of forgot about them. So if you are in that situation where you maybe have inherited a dirty database, maybe you're new to the firm and your responsibility now is to clean it up and you don't know where to begin, definitely knock off those few things I've already gone over, but don't be afraid to check out workflows on the left. Again, sometimes we'll see things in here that are 2, 3, 5, 10 years old that we haven't touched again in that entire time period. In here, you can always come in here. You can technically bulk complete on this page. I won't suggest deleting too often, but if it legit was a human error, that will be like the one time I'll ever say delete data. But again, legit human error. If it's something where it's just, hey, it's old data, I might say just add in like a quick comment when you're closing it out. So that way, you know, hey, it took us 10 years. It actually didn't. We're just cleaning it up today. So this is another section, again, not going to be applicable for every single office. Not every office uses workflows, but if you do, I'd always advise checking in here, seeing if there is something that maybe it was assigned to an old advisor and they're no longer with us, or again, maybe we started using workflows and then just stopped for whatever reason. This is just another field that you don't want to have just a bunch of buildup. So that's one field again that you might want to consider, one tool I should say that you want to consider. Another could be even opportunities. This is another one where I'll see years of just build up in here, and it all simply just needs to be closed out. Like it's all finished and it's just hanging on that last step that we forgot to do. Keep in mind with opportunities, they don't just disappear. Again, they're not like notes, they don't go into the thin air, they save somewhere within the database. Now, with it, if you've ever maybe been stuck, you can't figure out how to complete a workflow, or I'm sorry, complete an opportunity. If you click into an opportunity, it's actually under the stages. So if you click over here, close lost or close won, that's how it actually disappears from your open opportunities. So if that's been the holdup, just take a couple minutes, like I said, come in here, update it. If they're a contact, I'd consider that a closed one. If, hey, I've never recognized this name, it's clearly been in here for 3 years and we've never touched it, maybe a closed lost. But again, this is something else that I would recommend. Now, keep in mind, this page may only show you the current year. If you click that filter button, you can actually go further back. That, again, is something that I've seen some people not even realize they have a bunch that are old and just have blissfully ignorant. I will stress on that one. If I click on that January 2022, I can click on the 22 at that point. I can go back to 2019. I don't know if I want to willingly, but we'll go back to 1/1/2019, 12/31/2022, apply those filters. And again, it'll load anything that's in here. So I see a close date of 12/2. I do see September 23, 19, 19, 20. Again, this gives me that time now where I could say, oops, I need to go close those out. So again, that's another section that we might not realize needs to be cleaned up, and it really should be. So again, this is only if you're using this one that you would really have to worry about it. If you've never looked at opportunities, it might be worth pursuing this year. But again, just try to keep it nice and organized and closed out when they're actually all finished. So again, just popping back, make sure we have everything. So again, managed, advanced, I'm just working through. Perfect. There's one more field that I would kind of stress to consider, because again, it's one that we can easily forget about. I do it all the time. I'll just admit it. If I come back to my CRM, this is another admins only section. So if I come back to my name, back to manage your account one more time, back to the very bottom under admins only, this time I'm going to click database users and teams. When I'm in here, I can actually look at everyone that's in here. Again, if I'm an admin, I have access to this. Sometimes, I hope this is not the case, but sometimes maybe we forget to disable people. You can always come in here and disable the user. That's usually not the case. I usually find people are very proactive about that if someone leaves. But one thing we don't consider, teams. Sometimes we have these as outdated, and sometimes maybe we've added new team members and we forgot to add them to these. So again, this is something that isn't as common in terms of those dirty data or that buildup, but it is something that we might not realize we forgot to implement or even forgot to update. And now we're sitting here going, oops, no wonder you can't see any of these contacts or those workflows, or you haven't been assigned them. It's because you're not part of that team. So again, you can always add these. You can always add or remove team members. It's pretty simple. I can just highlight the name here, come down to the bottom, update. If I need to remove anyone, I just click that, update the team. Again, it's rather simple. If I need to add a new team, shocker here, you'd click add team. And again, you would just proceed from there. So it's not as common of a field that I tend to worry about, but it is something that maybe is a huge deal that we just haven't even thought about. So that's really the last big thing I would suggest when it comes to contact cleanup. I do want to end it all with one final thing that may help. So again, I'm going to come back to that question mark, back to the help desk. I'm going to close that out. So question mark, back to the help desk. Is there kind of a cheat sheet of pretty much everything I just said outside of this recorded webinar? Yes, there definitely is. If you search up here again, contact cleanup, you could actually probably just search the word cleanup. That'll also work as well. We try to add a variety of different options, but right over here at the top, you have contact cleanup. If you click on this, this is kind of a how-to. How do I fix my data? So again, this is kind of like the written version of everything I just talked about, a little bit less because again, I threw in the activities and opportunities and workflows, just as again, other fields to consider. But this is also a very useful guide that anyone can access at any point in time. And it shows you again how to do the advanced searching, how to do the bulk actions. How do you actually do individual changes on a contact? Well, what in the world's a searching? Let's even just pull a second back. What else can we do? Oh, there's the custom export she referenced. So again, all of that's in here. So if there was any point in time where like, whoo, she's speaking a whole other language, it's going right over my head, it's all here again as a quick recap. But again, it's available from the help desk. So as long as you hit that question mark and then the other question mark, you will find that resource on there.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.